the issue, for the most part, with Myanmar's internal conflicts is not so much the borders as the central premise of what represents the Myanmar state. When the Constitution of 1947 was written and Myanmar was given independence from Great Britain in 1948, essentially there was no history of a centralized state that controlled the ethnic frontier divisions and states around the country. So a number of these ethnic minority groups like the Shan, the Karen, the Kachin had all disputed what it meant to be part of this new state of Burma, and had separatist ambitions or designs for political autonomy, greater representation, and really wanted a federal system that would better represent their interests collectively. So this solution, which was rather temporary because General Aung San was assassinated so soon before the country's independence, was to essentially promise some of these groups the ability to secede from the Union within 10 years if they weren't happy with the existing arrangement. After independence, certain groups like the Karen quickly resorted to civil conflict against the Myanmar or Burma military at the time. And essentially the country had been at war for the last 7+ decades. The religious divisions are similar, if not somewhat different. And some of this stems, some of the existing religious conflicts stem back to the country's early identity and Buddhist movements for the country's independence. The Young Men's Buddhist Association was critical to the country's anti-imperial, anti-colonial independence movements. So the country really saw itself, and its early leaders saw the country as a Buddhist country. The first Prime Minister, U Nu, really championed a message of Buddhism in his sort of state philosophy and leadership. But the country also held a number of Muslims and other religious groups, minority groups from within the country, as well as some Hindu and Muslim emigres from India and from British-controlled India. And many of these minorities and the Muslims moved across the border before there was essentially a border, before independent Burma. So a lot of these divisions predate the creation of Burma and have become reified by existing political debates and exacerbated by the nationalist rhetoric of the military, which wants to reignite this firm Buddhist identity to the exclusion of other religions.